Ah, uh, so based on what Leona said and based on your meditation, I have a question about the body in Federate and the identification, because having spent a long time with the teacher you recommended, who talked in Federate all the time, I was there for years and years of that. And I noticed at various times when the feeling, I am the bird flying by, I am the tree, even when we were holding hands on the Zoom. So if I'm looking at you in Zoom and I'm holding my hands and I'm imagining one of those hands is yours,
Yes, it's one of my favorite exercises. Yes.
what breaks the identification with this body, what I noticed when you gave the earlier meditation where you go to the end of the line and look and then turn around and look back, that
Mm.
here there is a synesthesia happening. There, all the senses are here together and
Yes.
they're all me. So I can't say I'm the hearing, I'm the smelling, I'm the tasting, I'm the anything, I'm all of it. And then when I look out and look back from the other place, if I'm still here identified, then it will only be vision coming back or sound coming back if my eyes are
Yeah.
closed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then when we did this and I saw that I was looking at me and touching me at the same time, what that was doing was breaking this location of me as the full sensory experience here in time and space.
Mm.
So it was moving the senses out of the body and the image of the body out of the body
Yeah.
into the 5,000-foot view. So where I was in my experience in the groups where the teacher was talking a Fetter, I was in 5,000-foot view that whole time going, I'm not any of this. And there was no embodied experience of Federate, you see?
Mm.
So it wasn't rainbows and unicorns. It was more like consciousness or
Mm.
awareness. It was a very abstract, dead sort of unification.
Mm.
Um,
But
so,
in that description, there's a very thick hook into Fetter one, the identification of an eye.
right, that's where the eye was still there,
Exactly.
but
Exactly.
the eye was awareness. The eye
Yeah,
was
exactly. But that's why you don't experience what Leona was talking about, where it's just like breathing rainbows and exhaling clouds. And when there's not an eye identification anymore, that is how the eight feather feels. But
right. So
even
I'm getting
that has to
there.
fall. Yeah,
I'm getting to
even
the
that has to fall because still there's an identification happening, even with that experience.
well, I'm getting with the misconceptions of unity consciousness, because then I would like to know, in the experience of Fetter 8 in the body,
Mm,
the embodied experience of Fetter 8 without having a body is sort
mm.
of like it was beginning to happen the other day when we were doing this. It's sort of synesthesia everywhere.
Yes, yes. And
Um,
that it's where why I'm emphasizing the third fetter so much. The third fetter is about self-care for the non-self. You need to have your diet in place, your sleep in place, your dentist in place, your finances in place. All that needs to be in place because when we come to the eighth fetter and we're starting even to dissolve the body, you don't feel a pain as an alert anymore. You feel a pain on par with, an orgasm. It's like a tickle in the body. It's like a wind on the cheek. That's a migraine now. So you don't you need some kind of routines in place that the body is naturally moving with. Night fetter naturally moving with these things. Oh, I'm eating. I must be hungry. Now I'm peeing. I must need the bathroom. It's just because you don't have that alertness with the identification of the body anymore when the eight feather fall. So there is still sensory experiences happening because the receptors are still there. but there's not a positive and a negative happening anymore. There's just movement happening. And you can feel, for example, you can feel something in your head, but you really need to pay attention to know if it's the wind or it's a smell or it's a migraine, because there's not that distinction anymore. It's just experiences happening. There's like a lightness and a flow and absolutely okayness with everything. There's no fighting anymore of anything. It's why when I say a root canal or a warm bath, it's the same thing. There's an absolute okayness with everything because the identification of the body or an I is not there.
So when you say you have a headache in your head, it could be a breeze blowing by, or it could be
Or
anything
tummy ache.
not localized in time and
Yeah.
space as your head.
Yes. Or
So
it could be a tummy ache. You can just feel something is happening, and you need to have things in place. Also to have people around you that somebody can say, I think we should go to the doctors. I think you need to. Because and that is what, um when you hear like scary stories of people driving in traffic or having accidents or stuff like that, and it's part of that there's not that alertness anymore. There's an absolutely okayness with everything and everyone.
so I had a friend recently who Fetter had dropped for, and he was having anaphylactic shock. And it
Yeah.
was like it was just a bird chirping in the
Yes.
trees. And I
Yeah.
had to tell him, get in the car and go to the ER.
Yes.
Otherwise, he would have stayed there and probably died.
Yeah.
So it's like that. It's like it's not localized. You feel it, but the feeling is here, but it
Yeah.
isn't in the body, and it isn't yours, and it isn't good or bad or right or wrong
It just
or
it's what Todd, what he if Todd he should explain it. He would say it's fascinating. He says that a lot. It's fascinating because it is. There's not a preference to anything. There's not a movement um with anybody moving in any direction. It's just the body moving in the directions that you need, that the body needs, and there's not an identification. And there's absolutely love to everyone and everything, and absolutely okayness with anything and anyone.
Thank you for describing that. Yeah, that. So then if Federate drops, why do you lose the bliss? Why do you tell Leona to stay there longer before it drops? It seems like it
Because
should be the same.
yeah, it's because there's before the ninth fetter and the 10th fetter fall, um it's like in the eighth fetter there's very subtle conviction about knowing. There's a very, I know I'm love. I know I'm part of the universe. I know that, we are all energy and everything is good in the world. There's like that, there's a very subtle identification with a knowing. And the 10th feather is when you come to a root of awakening about you don't know anything. But at that point, it's fine. It's completely fine. You're not supposed to, and it's fine. But there's really something to be said, and it's also why I don't have an issue with Rupert Spira or anybody else, Advaita Vedanta or anyone else that are sitting in the eighth feather and stopping the process there. I'm gonna stop here with the unicorns and the rainbows because it smells like strawberry every day. You know, I'm gonna stay here. I'm just like I completely get that. I get that. So I have yeah, no rush for anybody to, and if if it happens, it happens. For a lot of people, it happens all by itself, where you don't even need to do anything. You can enjoy it as long as you're there, and then the body will, because you don't identify anymore, the body will move you in the direction of the ninth fetter and then the 10th.
And so my last question is about empathy in a Fetter 8. If you're an empath, like you
Mm,
tell me, you don't relate to people through the empathic channel. You actually observe their behavior and you know what's going on because you've trained yourself because of your autism.
mm.
Can you imagine if you weren't, or how it's like for a non-autist? Um, the body in Fetter 8, have you heard from Todd?
I don't know it.
Is it that
Yeah,
you're permeable, like you're, because there's no boundary to the edge of your
yeah.
synesthesia and the world, do you
I
become
feel you.
feeling everything? Do you feel everything all the time?
Yeah, I do, but I don't know how a neurotypical person, experience the world. I know how I feel. I can feel you right now. I can feel that you have a slight tension in your solar plexus. I can feel that there's a tension in your jaw. I can feel your body just by looking at you. I can feel it in my body because I am you. It's also why, it's been super useful, you know, being a naturopathic doctor, and I could feel the diseases and the illnesses and know what the patient needed and all that. It's super handy. It's not handy because it's not something I can shut off. Just like you can't shut off your hearing or your sense of smell or your sense of seeing. You can't choose what you want to see. You can with effort, but on its own, it's just happening all the time.
But when you feel me because of my jaw and my tension, you can actually see my body, and
I
that
can
that
feel.
that makes
But
the feeling
I
happen.
can feel it in my, by looking at you, I feel it in my body. And I don't know if it's because my muscles start to tense up because mirror neurons and I'm mimicking you or what. I don't know what is actually doing it. It's also why I'm not a hugger, because when I hug people, it's like I take their entire body in me and feel everything. So Todd is the hugger of the family. If we ever meet any of you, hug Todd. I I will wave enthusiastically from the side.
Well, I guess what I was getting at is neurotypical people I've heard who are in the Fetter 8 Rainbows and Unicorns piece. They
Yeah.
say that they feel everything without even the visual cue, right? They don't need to look to see. They just energetically feel it. And
Mm.
I've been in and out of it where you can feel the room or feel somebody. You could have
Yeah.
your eyes closed and feel them. It doesn't even
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. The 8 feather falls when you don't identify with that anymore. That there's not the little kernel of Alila experiencing that. It's just experience. Just like when you close your eyes and you feel a buzzing somewhere where that could be feet. It's a bit like that. That there's not an identification with it anymore. Thank you
thank
so
you.
much. Thank you.